Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Hannah. I'm the project officer here at Beacon. And for those of you who are new to us or haven't heard our big news yet, we have rebranded. So we used to be called Find a Cure, but we officially became Beacon for Rare Diseases back on the 1st of February. And this is actually our first webinar as Beacon, which is very exciting. So why did we do this? We did this because we needed a new identity which better reflects the work that we do. So we have the same team, the same goals, but we have a new vision of no rare journey alone and a new mission to build a united rare disease community with patient groups at the heart. So a little bit about us, that's who we are, but what do we do? Again, in case we've got any newbies in the room. So our work focuses around three main areas. Our main focus is patient group training. We help groups meet their rare challenges by supporting them to form, grow, and professionalize. Another focus is rare research. So we help patient groups find a place at the heart of research so they can ensure the best outcomes and improve access. We also strive to create a rare disease community by facilitating connections and collaboration. Okay, so today's webinar, the reason you're all here, so this webinar will look at how you can increase the profile of your patient organisation. So we all know the amazing work that patient groups do. However, to deliver these vital services and support, patients and healthcare professionals need to know that the groups exist, and this is why increasing visibility is so important. So what will we cover today? We're going to look at the different methods you can implement to increase the visibility of your organisation, both online and in person. We'll also look at how to target specific audiences you want to engage with, how to use your website, SEO, and social media to get your name and mission out there, and how to utilise the rare community through media and events to increase your organisation's visibility. So a quick little bit of housekeeping. We're using Zoom webinar today. You can use the chat function at the bottom of the screen to interact with your fellow attendees and to report any technical problems you might be having to the Beacon team. Also, if you have questions for our speakers, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom. This just makes sure we don't miss them and they don't get lost in the chat. If you do see questions that you are interested in the Q&A function, you can like them and then they will go up further and we can get to them first. Okay, we also have subtitles enabled in Zoom, so you can turn the live transcript off at the bottom or turn it on if you want the subtitles, and you can also view the live transcript as well. Okay, so we've got a great lineup of speakers for you today. We've got Dr. Lucy McKay, the CEO of Medics for Rare Diseases, Sue Keogh, the director of Sue Keogh, and Joe Balfour, the managing director for Cambridge Rare Disease Network. And here is our schedule of what we have going on for you today. So I'm going to get on with it now and invite Dr. Lucy McKay, who will be our first presenter, and she will be discussing how Medics for Rare Disease boost the visibility of their organisation and their use of paid advertisements. So hi, Lucy, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone at Beacon and everyone who's attended. I'm going to speak briefly for about 10 minutes, particularly on pay-per-click advertising and why we decided to use it, and what it is and what benefits we're seeing. I can't say I'm an expert, but I will just tell you about our experiences. I know that maybe some people here have been on a webinar where I've talked about greater exposure to the healthcare professional audience. So if anyone's interested in that, I'm sure that one's available by Beacon as well. Anyway, so we decided to go for pay-per-click advertising, which ultimately means that it's like you only pay for the advert for every time someone clicks on it, but it is paid marketing, it's paid advertising. So it's a bit like how you Google shoes and then you then get told about shoes wherever you go, whatever app you're using or whatever you're Googling, you'll get that shoe will suddenly turn up because you're being tracked. Except we're slightly different because we're not trying to sell something. Our aim is that we would like as many medical professionals or healthcare professionals or students to go to our Rare Disease 101 website and to take Rare Disease 101, which is a 8-lesson e-learning that was created by Medics for Rare Diseases and many people who I'm sure are in this call, including Beacon, about teaching about rare disease without teaching about single like rare disease on its own. So basic concepts. And in a strategy meeting with the trustees, we discussed how do we get this out to people who are unconverted? So because if we have to recognize that if we don't pay for advertising, we are constantly putting out everything into our own bubble of people who already follow us, and maybe once in a while we'll get a new organic follower. Organic traffic is the traffic that you haven't paid for. It's people who just come across you. And we, if anything, would rather the people who would never come across us, because those are the people we would like to take the lessons and learn from Rare Disease 101. So we got together and said, how much, this is time, it takes about 2 hours to do this module. How much would we pay for someone to take this lesson, for a medical professional or medical student to take this module? And worked out, right, that's how much we're going to pay. That's how much we'd think about paying someone. For example, when someone does a PhD and they need people to fill in their surveys or do an interview, you pay them to do that. So it's that kind of thing. And that's really how we decided this is how we're going to go ahead and put our feet into, put our toes into the water of paid advertising. We decided what we wanted, which is those Rare Disease 101 signups, bearing in mind completion of the module is not a sign up. So, sign up doesn't guarantee completion. And then we knew that we needed, if we wanted it to go anywhere further outside our bubble, we needed to pay for advertising. Luckily, one of our trustees, our chair, founded and ran a startup company and has some experience in this. And also my husband runs an e-commerce company and they rely on pay-per-click advertising. And so I was able to find someone that was recommended who wasn't like a super expensive agency, and talk to them a lot about what we needed and what we wanted to get from the campaign. For us, it's a little bit different from a usual campaign because, as I said, we're not selling something, but we had a clear goal. And we decided a budget of advertising across different platforms. So we decided to advertise on Google, Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter. So although Facebook and Instagram are both by Meta, they get different budgets. So we spread an £1,000 budget across those 4 areas per month. So it's quite a significant output, and worked out and we decided, okay, based on, say we would pay someone X to complete the module, this is the maximum we want to pay per click or pay per lead. So for every person who actually clicks on that advert and goes and signs up, we're willing to pay X. And that's how we decided we could measure whether we felt this investment in the marketing was appropriate or not for a small charity. And we got I'll just show you, I can share my screen. So this is the company or the person that we work with who was recommended to us. And so he sent us a proposal of what he would do and how he can help, and with some how he would measure it, how we would start from the very beginning, how we'd produce the graphics, what was needed, because of course what an external person does, because maybe I should say first is we decided to contract the actual doing of it, because it's an art, and if you don't do it all the time, you can waste a lot of money and not actually see any results. So it was a bit like in for a penny, in for a pound. If we're going to do this, we want to do it properly with someone who knows how to run it and do it. And so as part of Luke's package, he not only creates the campaigns, but he makes sure that whatever you've provided for him is looks good, is going to be accepted by whichever platform it is, and is going to do well for clicks because of the composition of the advert or the words on it, and has that experience of doing that. He also looked at our landing page for Rare Disease 101 and how easy it was to sign up. So before, it was a very basic screen. And we felt that even if people just clicked through but didn't sign up, at least that's a moment where we could say, did you know that 1 in 17 people are affected by a rare disease in their lifetime? So at least, even if they don't sign up, but they click through to this page, you've done some awareness driving on the landing page. But he made he made suggestions to make the landing page look better. And then, like personal pictures, so it feels like someone's talking to you. And then you can click to enter the course. And then this is the screen that people used to come to. And you can see the difference between those is significant. So once they've clicked through, they get the more boring, like privacy policy screen. So, he could give advice like that. And I think also the other thing that just blew my mind was we were talking about keywords. So keywords being the words that someone will put into Google and you want your thing that you create to show. And I was thinking like online courses and, rare disease courses and things like this. But that's not actually who you want there. And he suddenly was like, well, who are your competitors and what would they Google? And I thought, well, I don't think we've got any competitors like naturally, but actually people that I want who Google, say, for example, there's a GP exam that every GP has to do. The only people who are going to Google that exam are going to be GPs. So I thought, oh, hang on, if we use the keyword that is that GP exam, and then they Google that exam, but it comes up with Rare Disease 101, boom, you've got a solely GP advert. It works quite well in medicine because of all the acronyms and the bizarre things that you can make really specific keywords. So, for example, like we wouldn't necessarily use autism, but maybe, maybe complex condition, and then that can be a keyword. And then measuring success is all about, then he can measure what the links go through. Let me see if he says it. It's things like, so he gave us quotes of like what he'd done with other people to help us check. But I think for us, it was, I'll just stop sharing screen. We did the trustees agreed to a 3-month trial because it's a significant amount of money. You also obviously have to pay for the agency and they're not necessarily cheap. So I think, but you're a charity, so make sure you barter it down. So, starting up the ads, and it takes a while, and then he has to monitor them and he adjusts them. I think I've got like 1 minute left. So we paid for 3 months, although I'm fully aware that really with advertising, it takes 6 months to a year to really understand how your adverts are doing, because you adjust them at the beginning and there's such a learning curve at the beginning. So I hope that I'm now taking the results to the trustees, and I hope that they will continue to say, yes, this is worthwhile. So to put this in perspective, we had said we would pay someone £50 to complete Rare Disease 101 if we were doing it as a PhD project. And our cost per lead, so it doesn't mean they've completed it, but they've enrolled, is £19.60. So for for that, it was it makes it really, it's been really helpful. And we've definitely seen the increase of traffic coming to Rare Disease 101, and we get to measure it. So I guess my tips would be get someone to help you, and also know exactly what you want from this cost that you're putting out.
Thanks for that, Lucy. That was really great. We do have a question in the Q&A. So the question is, did you not apply for free Google ads available for charities?
Yeah, so I did. We did, but it's only a certain amount, and you have to, and they don't reply. So I think there was such a huge amount of there's such a huge amount of like people going for it. I don't know if anyone's had this problem where Google just sort of don't get back to you. So I know that like a few years ago, when my husband was starting his business, when he started Google Ads, he had someone who would call him and everything. And so I don't know for the audience, has anyone else done it and just had that they've not had it back? So all I've been able to do with Google Ads is that they had, you know, if you do a certain amount, they add £80 to your budget. So we've done that in the past. But like I say, for our specific problem, it's for our specific problem, they, you know, we're not asking, like what most people who are using Google Ads are asking is click on this and pay for this commodity. Whereas we're not doing that. We're trying to get an audience who isn't actually, no one is going out there Googling free online courses in rare disease. Yeah. Whereas say you want a new pair of shoes, you might put in shoes. So it's quite difficult to get that. And that is why we kind of needed a professional in. I completely take the points that the budget is high, and that's true. But we see it as there is no point us creating Rare Disease 101 and those materials if they're only going to sit in the realms of people who already come to us, because those people are already aware. And so it depends on it really depends on your need, and also you could have a lower budget. It's just what we felt, how many people we need to get this out to. I see charities that we work with who use Google who use targeted advertising on, say, social media like Google and on definitely Google, but also on Facebook and Instagram, and they're asking for fundraising. Whereas that's not, you know, that's not what we're doing. So it kind of depends on what you're asked, what is your targeted advertising, what is your pay-per-click advertising for?
If people can keep putting stuff in the chat, and then you can see if maybe Lucy can reply on there. Yeah. But now I think it's best if we just move on, and I'd love to introduce Sue from Sukio, who will be joining us next. And Sue is going to be talking about how to increase your online visibility and the different methods you can put in place. So hi, Sue. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Hi, Hannah. Thank you. So my name is Sue, and I run a digital marketing agency in Cambridge called Sukio. And we used to share office space with Beacon, formerly Find a Cure. So it's really lovely to do this today, because I've been watching for many years now the wonderful work that they're doing. So it's really, it's just really nice to come along and help. So I run a digital marketing agency, and we very much pride ourselves in speaking plainly, giving lots of practical tips, instead of, lots of theories and complicated stuff. So I'm hoping that you can take a lot of notes during this, and there'll be things in it that you can apply straight away. And I think hopefully it will complement some of what Lucy was just saying, because it's not so much on the paid campaign side that I'm going to be talking about. So let me do the old screen share, and then you can drop any questions in chat. Hannah, interrupt me, do. Or I'm on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter all the time. So if there's anything after, if there's not time today, then, just message me. I'm always happy to answer any questions. So what I want to talk about is creating a presence and increasing the visibility of your patient group. So very much focusing on online and digital and those sort of areas. So a quick look at the different component parts that you might want to be using, and then just some of the basic principles that you can use across all sorts of different platforms. So it's about speaking the right language of your audience so they can find you. A few easy tips on layout and how to get people to open your emails or to click on to read your tweet in full and click through to read a blog, that kind of thing. And then encouraging engagement as well, which is about all your likes and all your retweets and all your shares and comments, all that sort of stuff. So let's kick off then by looking at your component parts of your online communications mix. And I'm sure lots of you have got these kind of things already. So you've got your website, and this is a really solid place to put all of your basic information about what the condition is, some of those kind of frequently asked questions, how people can donate, how they can get involved with events. So this is always your central point. Then you've got the social media kind of in orbit around it, I suppose. So this is a good way of getting the word out there, raising awareness for people to come across you and, make it nice and visual for people to get a real feel for who you are as a team and the work that you're doing. And then you've got the different communities. Now, some of you might be on Facebook, there might be forums, all these kind of things. And I'm sure some of you are doing email marketing as well. So maybe a monthly newsletter, which is going out to people that have signed up to talk about fundraising events and this kind of thing. And then events themselves. So where you're raising awareness and raising lots of money, hopefully, as well. So just to show you someone that's doing this really well, it's got lots of these component parts all working together. Hannah suggested the Cystic Fibrosis Trust. I don't know if there's anyone on the call today who's from the trust, but they're doing a really good job of all of these different component parts working together. And as I'm sure, if you think about your own behavior as you're looking around the web and you're on social media, there's lots of different touch points. So you might see the website, and then the next day an ad pops up in your feed, or maybe someone you know on Facebook is taking part in an event, and that pops up on your feed as well. So there's lots of different touch points, and none of this is working in isolation. So the Cystic Fibrosis Trust, they've got their website, central point for all the information. So very strong branding, this really, really strong yellow colour. And this is where all the information is. So when you go across that navigation at the top, they've got lots of information there talking about the condition. It's broken down into different types of people, how it affects you at different ages and that kind of thing. The work they do, donations, always good to have the donation button on the homepage. So this is their central point for information where they can keep people updated. And then connected to that, you've got the social media channels. So really good for amplifying the message, getting your news and your events and your work out there. So they're very good on Facebook. And so they've got a particular campaign for February. Nice little hashtag they've got there. Really positive, upbeat. Don't forget to tag us. Really good. They're encouraging people to spread the word effectively. So we can see all of your beautiful faces, a few emojis. There's a really nice tone there on social media, really strong graphics, really, really nice bit of engagement. So people have replied and then they've made sure they've responded too. So some of the best social media activity doesn't involve overthinking it. So somebody writes a nice message, you say thank you in exactly the same way that you would if you bumped into someone in the corridor in the place where you work and they said something nice to you, you respond and you say, oh, thank you very much. So it's that kind of very human interaction that comes across very naturally. Their YouTube channel as well is really good. And as you can see, a lot of the things, the ways they've titled the videos match the sort of things that people are looking up on the web, which I'll come to in a second. But so lungs, how does cystic fibrosis affect the body? And so it's all of these kind of words that people are putting into search engines, trying to find information. And they've made sure that the titles and the way that they've divided up the content matches what people are looking for as well. So yeah, I'm not going to go through every single social media channel, but I just thought it's really nice what they're doing on Facebook and YouTube for inspiration. They're also using Facebook for a fundraising group, so specifically for fundraisers. And this is a really nice place for communities nowadays. I'm sure everyone's got lots of different opinions on Facebook. There's bits of it I like, bits of it I'm not so crazy about personally nowadays, but it is very effective for paid advertising, really good for targeting particular demographic groups and locations. And also Facebook groups are still very powerful. So when someone has joined a Facebook group, anyone who posts in it, that is going to come to the top of your feed on Facebook. So they are still very, very powerful. And this is why they're so good for local communities. You know, maybe you're in a group for your town, your village, your sort of neighborhood area, but then also for these kind of very, very niche, very, very close communities where you'll be able to converse with people going through similar issues. So this is the fundraising community they've got on Facebook. And again, very positive, very encouraging, trying to give people lots of encouraging words of wisdom and advice. And, so it's really nice, these little communities that you can have. And then lastly, I've got events as well, but part of this marketing mix, we've got the email marketing as well. So this is really powerful because you're going straight into people's inboxes. So you can send out monthly newsletters or every week if you want to, but once a month is kind of fine. And then you can share those updates and celebrate people that have raised lots of money and ask for more donations and generally keep people updated about the work that you're doing. And then, yeah, last of all, events. So, of course, a lot of these are going to be face-to-face. Like we've got here, we've got these people all going out on a walk on St David's Day, very nice. And so you'll have a mix of online events and things that happen in the real world. So again, it's all part of that mix. So people, they might have seen a tweet from you and then they're out walking in the hills and then they'll see people in the branding. So it's about all of these different touch points coming together. You kind of hitting people from lots of different angles rather than thinking that one particular part of your marketing mix is the only thing that people see. You're building up familiarity over time because you're becoming more visible in lots of different places. So it is worth remembering that people are engaging with you in lots of different touch points and lots of different times of day as well. They could be commuters looking at the website and then they see a tweet, or they could hear a story about you on the radio. They could see you out on a market square. There's lots of different touch points. But the thing to think about is where your audience actually is. Where are these people hanging out? I was just in a call just now actually with a company who do components for mobile devices. And they were saying, oh, we're not getting much response from Facebook. And I was saying, it's fine, don't worry about it. The people that you're selling to, when they're on Facebook, they're not thinking about buying component parts for their mobile devices. This is their day job. Whereas for rare diseases, then I think Facebook still is, very strong for these communities and a really good way of reaching people. Equally, Twitter is great for raising awareness and also connecting with journalists and local press and that kind of thing. But the thing to remember is you don't have to be on every platform going. And this, as social media grew over time, I think a lot of companies, a lot of charities, a lot of organizations, a new platform comes out and you think, now I've got to be on this as well. So the big one at the moment is TikTok. And a lot of people are saying to me at the moment, well, I'm already on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and now I've got to do TikTok as well. And the trick is just to maybe pick one or two and really, really focus on them and do them well, rather than feeling that you're on 10 different things and you haven't got time to update any of them and it's really stressful. So it's much better to be a bit more tightly focused. Pick ones that you enjoy, where the audience is going to be, and just really sort of hone in on these ones, because otherwise there's only so many hours in the day and you've got so many things to do. So don't worry, you can take away some of the stress. So if there's any questions on that, then just stick them all in chat and we'll kind of pick them up as we go. But what I want to move on to now are some of the basic principles that you can use across everything. So I've split it into three. So the first thing is about being found. And Lucy touched upon a few elements here as well. Getting people to understand what you're saying as well. So this is what I was saying about being structurally sound. I've got some tips on layout, on how you can display the content so that people understand it, then they retain the information. And then also, because they've understood it and they can retain it, they're more likely to share it as well. And then I've got lots of tips on engagement. So speaking the language of your audience. So this helps people find you on the web. And a very direct example, a friend of mine was an editor on a deaf-blind charity website. And everybody was very insistent that because that was to do with the name of the charity, then they had to use the phrase deaf-blind all over the website wording. And then they did some research and found that the majority of people were coming to the site who were looking for the phrase hearing loss and phrases to do with vision. So it's really important to think less about, I mean, it's important to think about what your charity is called, of course, but really listen to how people describe it as well. Think about the phrases they're putting into the web. Think as well about how people are generally quite impatient. So on Google, if it's a long name, we tend to put something in shorthand. You know, we'll use an acronym or we'll use a more familiar name. So think about those sort of words that people are using and try and get them onto your website and on other channels. So I'll talk a bit more about that in a second, and then a bit more about the visibility. Sorry, I've whizzed through this. There we go. So I've got ahead of myself. So yeah, so this is what we're talking about. I'm just going to tackle this, speaking the language of your audience first. So you might have come across the phrase SEO. So search engine optimization. It's a very sexy term. And it's all about helping people find you on the web. So it's writing your content on your website and social media channels and laying it out and some of the tech stuff behind the scenes to basically help Google and other search engines match people that are looking for content like yours with your website. So Google is, if you imagine it, it's got hundreds of doors in front and it can direct people into any one of these doors. You need to be writing your content in a way that Google thinks, aha, right, that I'll push them in this direction. And there's companies that make, you know, millions out of SEO, and it's in everyone's interest to try and make it sound as difficult as possible. But it actually, a lot of it comes down to common sense. So think about the phrases that people are using, the words that they're using to search, and how you can get them in prominent places. So people are going on Google looking for information. They're going to be using certain keywords, phrases, and questions. They might be asking questions that are very similar all the time about the symptoms and the treatment and various things about what people can expect if they've got this particular condition. Carers might have a different set of questions about how they can look after someone. And so if your website features the same questions, phrases, keywords, then you're going to increase the chances that Google is going to point people in your direction. So, for example, cystic fibrosis trust, then, you know, what is cystic fibrosis? And it's written in this very sort of conversational way. What is cystic fibrosis exactly? And people on Google, they're not going to be writing the exactly, but this helps the content come across in a slightly more kind of friendly, one-to-one sort of conversational way, but it's still capturing that search term that people are putting into Google. So a nice activity after the session for you might be, well, actually, what are the words and phrases that people are using? And you can look at the queries that are coming in. So look at your inbox and just really think, actually, what are the common questions that we have every day? And if you can maybe change the FAQ section, then you're answering those straight away, and it might actually save you a bit of time. There might be things where you're thinking, oh, we're always answering this question. People are always phoning us up about this, or I'm always having to fend off emails about this. So they're the very things that you can put on your website because this is what people want to know. So you're almost finding that people are giving you a head start. So any of these keywords to do with the condition, you can put them in page titles. You can put them in introductions, social media, put them in a biography, like the little two sentences that sums up your charity or your group. Subheadings, maybe in a blog post, you could have questions for each subheading, image names as well, rather than just foot1.jpg, internal links as well. So when you're linking to another part of the website, then make sure the link text matches the name of the page that you're linking to. See, I said I had a load of tips. So here we go. This is their bio, as I was mentioning. So we're dedicated to uniting for a life unlimited for those living with cystic fibrosis. So they've got the name of the condition in the bio there, and they've hashtagged it as well, which is a nice touch. And then when you look them up on Google, again, you've got the name of the condition there. So if it was simply, we're dedicated to uniting for a life unlimited, well, that's nice, but that's not going to help people find them on the web. So you need to get the name of the condition in there as well, and any other, keywords or phrases that you think might be sensible to include. So great communication means speaking the language of your audience, which helps people find you on the web and elsewhere. So that was a little scoot through SEO, helping people find you on the web. So any questions about that, do drop them in chat, and I can either pick them up at the end, or if it's a quickie now. But I think it might be good to make sure we cover everything today. Maybe we'll have some at the end. So that was all about helping people find you. So people that are looking for your sort of services, looking for information relating to what you're doing, and helping them find you. And then in this section, we're thinking more about how you present the content. And this is going to help people understand you through better order and better layout. And the beauty of all of this stuff is that it's completely free. So half the time, it doesn't involve a complete redesign. It's about little tips and tricks that you can think about when you're writing a blog post, when you're even laying out a tweet, your website content, how you can make it more easy for people to understand. And so good structure is really important because it helps people get interested in your content, first of all, because they see, oh, this looks interesting. It helps them read it, which is very important. And if they can read it, they can understand it, and they can hold on to that information. They can retain it for several days or months, years later, which means they can share it. So if you imagine you come across some content and you're looking at it and it's so densely worded and you can't understand it, well, you're not going to share it with other people either, because, well, why cause them a headache? It's bad enough having one yourself. And accessibility is really important as well. I'm sure a lot of you, this is something that you think about a lot. You might have people with various, access needs or visual impairments or that kind of thing, that might mean it's harder for them to understand content on the web. And I personally think it should be as accessible as possible for everybody. So if you look at this page, for example, this is about pneumonia. And as you can see, it's very dense. There's lots of words here that you've got to include because it's particular medical terms. So there's no point, we're not going to strip that out and make it put sort of different words in that are going to change the meaning. But still, it spans the width of the screen. It's very dense. The paragraph number 3, very tightly packed there. So if you look at that, you'll read it because you have to, but it's not going to be an enjoyable read or one that you can read in a hurry. Whereas to compare this is from the NHS website. And as you can see, there's lots of white space. So there's lots of room for the text to kind of breathe. They're using bullet points. I love bullet points. If you've got a really long paragraph and you're listing lots of things, then why not cut out some of the waffle, some of the lead-in text that you don't really need, and then use bullet points to have simple lists like this. They've also got a good kind of hierarchy on the page. So you've got titles and subheadings are larger in a different color. And then you've got the body text, and that's all one size. And then the other thing to point out as well is to see how they've done the links. So you've got a link on chest pain, and that will take you to a page on chest pain. So I'd definitely recommend that you don't just have links that say read more and click here. Another accessibility tip is that screen readers, quite often they'll just read out that link text. So it'll say read more and click here. Whereas what someone using a screen reader wants to do is know that they're going to a page about breathlessness or chest pain, whatever. So, you can see just by rearranging how the page is laid out that it's going to be easier to understand. So they've got a clear summary at the top. They've got lots of summary subheadings. They've got bullet points. They've got line breaks, all of this stuff that adds more white space to the page. I definitely recommend that you don't have like pale yellow text over a cluttered background, for example. It just makes it really difficult for people to read. High contrast is really good. They've also got this hierarchy. So you look at it, and even without even thinking, you know that's an introduction, you know that's the body text. You're not having to think about it. The links on the words match the destination, so it's more intuitive. They avoid block capitals. So again, accessibility, readability, block capitals, when you've got a lot of them, it's actually really difficult to read. So try and avoid that. As you've got here on the NHS side, it's all written in what you call sentence case. So it's much easier to read, it's much easier on the eye. It's also quite a narrow width. So you don't want to feel like you're at Wimbledon watching a tennis match and you're kind of reading from left to right across the screen. A narrow width can be quite helpful. Lots of white space as well. So more line breaks, more bullet points, giving it room to breathe makes it an easier read. So an activity that you can do after the session is just have a look at your own website content and just think, right, without even having to talk to a website designer, pay any money, anything, how can you break it up? So perhaps you've got really long paragraphs. Can you break them up and maybe have a gap between each sentence? More line breaks? Can you have some subheadings? You know, so what are those kind of quick wins that you can get to make it more readable? And the next thing to cover when we're thinking about layout is one of my favorite tips. And it's a thing that we call front loading, which again is not a very sexy term, but it's a really useful tip that you can use across all of your content, whatever marketing content it is, to get people reading it and paying attention. And, you know, we're talking today about raising visibility. So it's that feeling again, if people actually, if they're interested in it and if they can understand it, they're going to share it, which means it's going to hit different audiences, which of course is what you want. And so the thing about front loading, it's putting the best bits first. So instead of just telling you this, what I want to do is show you. So titles, for example. So this is, I think, from the New Statesman, New Scientist website, a little screen grab I took this week. So as you can see with these titles, they've got these keywords, so these bits that people are going to be interested in, and they've put them right there in the title. So middle age spread, metabolism, vaping, smoking, UTIs, antiseptic drugs, hugging a pillow, or breathing and anxiety. So you know, without even reading the blog post, reading the news article, what it's about. And if you're someone who's got an interest in reducing anxiety and sleep issues, great, you know, your eyes just hone in on that one bottom left about hugging a pillow, and you think, yeah, that's the one I'm going to click on. Whereas if it's got a much more abstract title, which could be something like, just thinking on the fly, like sweet dreams, you know, or something like that, or counting sheep, then people aren't going to click on that because they don't know what it's about. And this is a classic thing when you're writing content. You're so happy with the article that you've written that you think, oh, I'm just going to give it a really clever title. And then you think, well, why is no one reading this thing? You know, you look at the stats and you think, oh, great, no one's actually read it. And this is the important bit. You take the most compelling little nugget, little thing that's interesting, and you put it right at the start. So this is news articles and blog posts. Email subject lines, another classic thing that people do. And Hannah, I'm not saying that you do this with your emails, but a classic thing is to say Beacon Quarterly Newsletter, Q2, 2022. So if that popped into your inbox, you're going to be thinking, great, this is so exciting. I can't wait to click on this and open it. Whereas if you put something in it that tells you what the newsletter's about, then people are going to click on it. They're going to open it up, or they're much more likely to. So, for example, it could be want to increase the visibility of your patient group, and inside the newsletter is something about today's webinar. Or something I quite often do, I simply just kind of list some keywords, you know, skills webinar, student voice prize, resources toolkit. And when that lands in someone's inbox, then hopefully one of those three things is going to get them interested and they'll click to open. So it's all about putting the best bits first. Podcast titles, okay. Government Digital Service podcast. I'm interested in government digital services and how they democratize government information. It's really interesting. I look at the this genuinely happened to me the other day. I thought, oh, they've got a podcast. Great. I'll listen to that. Oh, and I looked at it and I thought, oh, I don't know which one to click on. I don't know which one to listen to. They've got a very long title. So that takes up most of the text. I don't care that it's episode 35. I want to know that it's the one about accessibility or whatever, content design. I don't know. And looking at that, I'm not going to listen to any of those because it just looks really boring. And actually, it's really interesting stuff. And then Beacon, and hopefully a lot of you have been listening to the podcast that they've recently put out. And so instantly you've got that interesting, the bioinformation, and you've got those keywords. So Huntington's disease, you've got that right at the start, West syndrome, life as a young carer. So you're looking through that and you're thinking, oh, epilepsy, that's really of interest to me. So I'm going to listen to that one. So I can't stress enough, putting the most important bits first is really helpful. Even on links, the way you write links, book your ticket, get our early bird rate, rather than putting it at the end of the sentence. I'm doing this continually. I'm continually rewriting what I'm doing. So I might start a sentence by saying, want the latest updates. And then I'll think, oh no, I'll quickly front load it. And that means that it's there because we read from left to right, then people see that bit first. So yeah, try and put even the links at the start of a sentence. It's super helpful. So in all of your marketing activities, try and put the most important bits first. So you're not writing a novel. You're not waiting for people to, eagerly read page by page until they get to the plot twist at the end. It's almost like you want to put the plot twist at the beginning, and then that makes it more interesting. It makes people read on or open your newsletter or click on your tweet and all this sort of stuff. Try and use those keywords. So think about specifics. Think about, like the example I was saying, talk about sleep, insomnia, anxiety, whatever, rather than saying sweet dreams. Make sure that people understand what the content they're about to read is about. And a good way of doing this is to actually write your blog post, write your email that's going to go out to 20,000 people or 3 people or however many, and then come up with the title last. So don't sit there kind of, I don't know what to put as a title. If you write that bit last, then you know what it's about. And then you know that the first thing that people see is really good. It's really solid. So a really good thing for you to do after the session, just have a look at your own content and think, if someone came to this completely fresh, they'd never heard of you as a group, they didn't know much about what you do, then what would they understand on the first things that they see? So if you sent them an email, what would that subject line be? When they land on your homepage, what do they see? What's the very first thing that people see when they come to you? Think about your blog titles, your page content, email marketing, all of these kind of things. Or even ask someone else. So someone that doesn't know very much about you, maybe use them as a guinea pig and see what they come up with. So the last section, let me see how we're doing for time. It's all good. It's good. We might even have time for questions. Is about encouraging engagement. So you've helped people find you by speaking the right language and putting these keywords and phrases all over the place on your website and social media. And then you've thought about how you lay out your content. So you've got more space around it, you've got more bullet points, you've got more subheadings, and maybe you're not spanning the width of the page, so everything's easier to read so people understand it. And then you've been front loading it, so people know when they land on your website what you're about. They know what your blog is about because you've got a really good title, and they've just finished listening to your podcast, which they got interested in because it was the episode was named so beautifully. And now what you want to do is get the word out there. So you want to encourage people to you want them to share, you want them to tell people about it, forward links, and to engage, to comment on posts as well. So we want people to do all these lovely things. And this is, it's really hard, isn't it? And this is why the work that Beacon does is so impressive, because they're really helping amplify everybody's voices in a way that, I imagine when you've got kind of the big boys out there, all you Macmillans and Cancer Research and British Heart Foundation, they've got these massive budgets. So for smaller charities, I can really see how it's harder in the face of all of this to really make a noise. So let's see what tips I've got for you. So there's eight things that you can do. Firstly is about making it topical, and a really an obvious one is to pick particular days, so, and I don't know who the person in charge of picking these, national day of whatever's is, but there seem to be a lot of them about, and you don't want to be doing it every week, but quite often there is an angle that you can use. Some of the examples that I'm using here as well, they're all from Rare Disease Day, because there are just quite a few, as I was scrolling through to see how people were responding, they also demonstrated a lot of the tips that I want to share. So a lot of them have come from this. So you have got big things like that, but then also topical, you've also got these seasonal things that roll around every year. So you've got Valentine's Day, you've got Easter coming up, you've got Halloween, these kind of things quite often give you an angle, and you can, really crowbar it in however you want, but there are these topical things. But then also you get events like the Olympics happening, for example, or we've just had the BAFTAs, or, quite often there's these other things going on in the news that you can somehow kind of get an angle relating to your group, your charity, in there as well. So you're kind of capturing the public mood, if you like. Another thing is to make people smile. So I mean, we all know this works on Facebook. People love cute content on Facebook. They love funny content. They love things to do with family, friends, food, lots of F words, not that F word, but things that are funny, things that make them smile. We've just seen some examples of fundraising, people out on a walk, all smiling. This is the kind of thing that does get engagement. And I know a lot of you will be working, with conditions, and a lot of the content you're sharing might feel a bit almost sensitive, or that you're talking to people that are going through a really difficult time. So you've got to get the tone right. You're not going to be glib about it, but actually something that is quite heartwarming and puts a smile on people's faces is going to be really nice. And that's the sort of stuff that is going to get engagement because it feels positive. And even someone out doing a fundraising activity, to share that and to say well done and celebrate it underneath, this is getting engagement, and this is going to get shares as well, which is going to make you more visible. Being helpful. So people love being helpful. So, we're altruistic people. So people want to share these kind of things. So any guides, any explainers, anything that demystifies the condition, any FAQs, all of these things, if you've got that content there, then quite often people are very keen to share it as well because they want to be helpful. So this here is a really nice infographic about Huntington's disease. And so this chap has shared it, and then that's got lots of engagement as well. It's got 22 retweets and 16 people have clicked like as well. So that is all going to kind of amplify it. And then the next thing is asking a question. So this can be, excuse me, I'm just going to cough. Too much talking. So asking a question can be a really good way of turning something from a flat statement into something that's quite engaging. So this here, rather than just sharing the pictures, and these are beautiful pictures as well, rather than just sharing pictures, then they're asking a question. So did you light up for Rare Disease Day? Share your pictures below. And it's just a really nice way of getting that little bit more engagement. And there's lots of ways you can do this. You can do it in graphics, you can ask a question. Instagram is lovely for little polls and sliders and asking little yes, no questions to people. And this all gets engagement. And one that I quite like on Twitter, these are some people I did some training with not so long ago who do health and safety. And they did a nice one. I mean, a lot of the work they do is in health and safety and regulations and people having accidents and some of this stuff which isn't so fun. But on National Toast Day, this is a really nice way of kind of linking what they do with something that's in a slightly more light-hearted manner. So it's National Toast Day. Here at IOSH, we want to know, how do you like your toast? And if you do polls like this, it's really good to just keep it simple. It's not scientific research. Yorkshire Tea did a really fun one that I like, which was, what's your favourite afternoon beverage? And both answers were tea. So you don't have to be too scientific about it. You can do it for fun and ask a question that people can answer straight away. So definitely, asking questions is just a really nice way of getting more engagement. Making it visual is just really important. People are we process images much more quickly than we process text. So if you can have some really strong graphics, this is Beacon's Instagram page. And as you can see, they've got these, really strong brand colors that flow through. There's a thing, I don't know if any of you use it already, but called Canva, Canva, which can be a really nice low cost way of creating graphics for social media that are very social media ready. So they've got templates for Facebook, for Twitter, for podcast graphics, all of that kind of thing. So you can quite easily create lots of visuals that you're using again and again, rather than having to learn how to use Photoshop and do it in a very kind of individual one-by-one basis. So definitely making things more visual, using video, using nice graphics can be really, really effective. So yeah, there's lots of tips and tricks on that as well. Writing it well. So the things that I was saying about a second ago about good layout and spacing, really great for social media and getting more engagement. So I love what we've got here. So you've got just a little emoji, and sometimes people go over the top with emojis, and also accessibility. Sometimes some emojis, some people will sometimes try and be really clever and write a whole tweet in emojis, but then they can be a bit difficult for accessibility as well. So I like to use them just as little accent points. So maybe use emojis instead of bullet points. You've got something about the environment, so use leaf emojis as bullet points, for example. Whereas you don't want to go too much to town, but they're really nice for just kind of giving it a little friendly lift. And you've got the line breaks there. You've got a really clear call to action, register for our free webinar. So all of that spacing that you might be applying to your website, then you can do it in social media as well. Another thing as well, just thinking about writing it well, let's say you've got a nice piece of video content, then actually you don't need loads of text to go with it. So people are reading in a hurry, they're scrolling through their mobile devices, they're carrying a baby in one hand, someone's at the door, the dog's barking, whatever, they're busy trying to get information on their child's condition on their phone. People are very busy. We're only taking in about 30% of what we're reading. So make it as easy as possible for them to take in what you're actually saying. So think about asking a question. Can you keep it short? You don't have to tell your whole life story in one tweet. Use a hashtag, that can be quite good. Maybe an emoji. And then putting a little bit of text on a graphic can be really good as well. And what we've got here as well is that high contrast, so quite dark text against a very pale background. And I'd really strongly recommend that as well. So we've got 8 of these tips, and this is number 7. So add a really strong call to action. So people don't mind if you're quite bossy when it comes to web content. We like being steered in a certain direction. We like being told what to do. We like being told, book this course, register now, download this, launch a toolkit. We like knowing quite clearly that we're being pointed in a particular direction. So things like this submit your furry friend's photo, so you can tell that you're being asked to send in a photo. Lovely. You know exactly what's being asked of you. And if people know what's being asked, they're more likely to do it. So keep it nice and clear what you want people to do, be specific, and show they get the benefit. And, we're talking about raising visibility here. So you're getting more engagement from people. And then that means it's more likely to be spread and shared more widely. And yeah, don't be afraid to be bossy. Tell people exactly what you want them to do. And then the last thing, and I know lots of you are brilliant at this already, this one is again for Cystic Fibrosis Trust, is telling a story. So anytime that you can tell emotive, powerful stories, again, if you've got a lovely picture of Clara there, and she's smiling, and that instantly seeing that human face of it is really, really powerful. So telling those stories again makes it more likely to be shared, because people buy from people, but people also love hearing people's stories. People relate to people, people engage with people. So really hone in on those powerful stories. And this will really help the sharing of your information. So people respond to emotive content. They also respond to opinion. So anytime you can share strong opinions, and people like to relate to the human side. So in summary, we've covered lots of ground. So to make your posts on social media more engaging, try and make it topical. This goes for blog posts as well. make people smile, things that are positive, heartwarming, celebratory, encouraging, make it helpful. So FAQs, any guides, anything that demystifies the condition and your charity's work. Asking a question is really good, and it doesn't have to just be text. It can be a poll, it could be a little slider on Instagram. Make it visual. So anytime that you can get more video content in, more graphics is really helpful. Think about the way it's worded. And if you're looking at a social media post, look at it yourself and think, actually, would I click on this? Using a clear call to action. So getting people to do exactly what you want them to do. And then adding human stories can be really powerful. So after the session, so think, what types of posts do you respond to yourself? And look at your own posts on social media. How can you make them more engaging using the tips that we've just shared? And following the session, just think about what you can put into practice. So can you help people find you by changing your language to help them find you on the web more easily? Can you help people understand you more by making your content more easy on the eye? And can you make your posts that little bit more engaging to encourage people to share them? And some useful stuff from us. So, do keep in touch after the session as well. We've got a really good blog, which we update recently with all sorts of things about digital marketing. We've got a mailing list on the Sukio website. You just go into the footer, you can add yourself to the mailing list there. And we share we do quite a few webinars and workshops, and we share our blog posts, all this sort of stuff. We've got some online training called Sukio School, lots of easy to follow courses there. And then we do lots of content strategy as well. And then we've also got, I thought this might be really handy, we've got a copywriting and a social media checklist. This is a social media one. I'll make sure that Hannah's got the information to share around afterwards as well. So you can just whiz through this, and then it will help you kind of assess your social media from a neutral perspective. And that's us. So let me stop sharing. Yes.
That was great. Thank you so much, Sue.
Whistle stop tour.
No, it was excellent. I feel like you've given our attendees like some stuff that they can just implement straight away, which I think is the most important way of doing it.
That's my evil plan.
Yeah. We do have a couple of questions. So there's a question in the chat. You're talking about like positive tone and how that's important. But we've had someone ask if you've got any specific tips around like how to create a positive tone.
Yeah, I think some of the language that you can use is, try and be celebratory and helpful. And you're always talking about the good stuff that's going on. You don't have to be twee and kind of, saccharine about it, but celebrating people, always thinking about what good has this person done, or what's the positive outcome of this thing that we're talking about. Because I know some of the subject matter can be quite difficult, can't it? And sometimes you do want to you want to give people clear and straightforward information. You don't want to sugarcoat it. I've been in positions myself. For example, I lost my dad to MND, so I found myself looking up information on that, and I needed to know the facts in a way that where people weren't being patronizing, and they weren't trying to sugarcoat it, but also they were being sensitive and understanding that someone in my position was looking for this information. So I think one of the most important things you can do is to put yourself in the reader's shoes and think and really imagine yourself, picture yourself standing there in the kitchen looking for information as someone that has either just been given the news that they've got this condition, or a parent wondering what to do with their child. So I think that rather than tell you use this word or that word, I think the most effective approach you can take is to really put yourself in their shoes. And in fact, a lot of you probably are because I know with rare diseases, a lot of people found patient groups or charities purely because they're the ones that are going through it. So, think about what you would respond to as well might help.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. And I think we've got time for just one more. So we have another one in the Q&A box. I think you've kind of covered this, but I'm not sure if you've got anything else to say. This person said that they've set up social media accounts which are ticking over, but they're not getting the website clicks that they'd hoped for. And if you've got any tips like specifically for the website?
Yeah, I think really think about the questions that people are asking, and if it is as simple as what are the symptoms of, just try and make sure that you've got got that coming through. I'm interested to know if it's clicks in the first place or if people are arriving there and then moving away. But it could be some of the technical aspects as well. So some of the stuff going on behind the scenes, make sure that even the way that the website, the URL, so the name of the web page matches what people are looking for as well. So for example, on our own website, I thought I was being clever by having sukio.com/copywriting. But then it was such, because it was nice and simple and easy to share, but it's such a broad term. And then someone said to me, no, change it to copywriting services. And then I instantly brought in more traffic. So there's little things like that, make sure that the way that you structure it that way, but feel free to message me, whoever that person is, then I can have a quick look, because there might be something I see straight away and think, yeah, right, that's it, that's the problem. And sometimes it is something that's really staring you in the face, but you're so involved in it, and you've got so many other things to do that it's difficult to get that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much, Sue. I think that was really helpful. And I think there was a bit more chat going on. So that's great.
Can you save the chat afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will also drop those links into the chat that you put at the end of your presentation as well. So I'll do that in a moment. But thanks again, Sue.
Thanks.
Okay. And next up, we have Joe Balfour from Cambridge Rare Disease Network. Joe is going to be speaking about how to increase your visibility using the rare disease community and through the media and events. So hi, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you ever so much for having me. I'm just going to share my screen. And just to say, it's strange not seeing you all today. I wish I could see your faces. It's been so long since we've all seen each other, and I'm hoping that this session today will inspire you a little bit, because it's very much going to be about events, and we're hoping that many events will start to happen in person again, and how you can actually get involved in those. So really what this is about is not just being visible and vocal, but it's being seen and heard by the right people. We've all got limited time. And I think, I'm just going to move on. We're going to have a whistle-stop tour through how you can get the most out of your events that you attend and how you can build up a bit of a media presence. So first of all, I'm going to tell you a little bit about CRDN in case you haven't met us before. So we are the Cambridge Rare Disease Network. We're based here in Cambridge, just down the road from Beacon, actually. And we cover three main areas of work. So we raise awareness primarily through our events program and campaigns. We support our local community of families, children, and adults affected by rare diseases, and we connect people. So we host a companies forum. We're connecting companies with patient groups, and we also connect, obviously, through our events program. So what I want to think about first is if we are taking part in events or we're wanting to dip our toes into media, what are we doing it for? Why? Who do we want to speak to? Where are we going to find these people? And what for? What's the plan? And I show that picture there of the ironing board with the shoe boxes and the laptop on top, because I kind of feel like this is where we've been stuck for the last 2 years. We've been stuck hiding behind our screens, trying our best to take part in events, maybe not being as visible and vocal and seen as heard as we'd like to do. But now is the time to start building your plan, because things are going to open up again. And this is the moment where you can get your voice heard. So what does that look like? Now I know, lots of small charities, not many resources, and not a lot of time. Your time is precious. So I would really urge you, this is the most important thing, it's to have a plan. So first of all, start off by thinking about what are my unmet needs? What are the unmet needs of my community? If you're not sure, ask them. Do a survey, run some focus groups, talk to them in your Zoom chats. Find out what is it that they actually want to change. And once you've decided what you want to change, prioritize. What are the things that you can do now? What are the things that you might like to do in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, even longer? Once you've identified what you want to change, who are you going to need to help you? Because it's inevitable. You're going to need support. So it's about identifying the types of people that you're going to need to help and the organizations. Then the big question, where will you find them? And that's often the tricky bit. Pinpointing where are these people? How am I going to connect with them? Where do they hang out? So just in simple terms there, if you're a charity that's thinking, okay, so our unmet needs are that there isn't enough research into our disease, you might start by thinking, okay, so we want to fund and partner with others in research. So then we think about who can help us. Might it be other patient groups that we speak to first, patient groups that are already a little bit further down the line? Are we going to need some academic researchers, some clinicians? And if that's so, where are we going to find them? So we can talk to umbrella groups like Beacon, like Genetic Disorders UK, Gene People, like CRDN, and so on. We can attend conferences and we can go to networking events. So really clearly set out, what is it you're trying to do here? What's the point in getting involved in these events? What's the point in investing in media? Because it's very easy to try and do everything. It's very easy to have a scattergun approach. And then you get to the end of the year and you think, but what did I achieve from that? Did I get to where I wanted to? Did I find that researcher? Did I get the help I needed? So spend a bit of time hatching your plan. Now, if you know CRDN well already, you'll know that events are a big part of what we do. And I'd like to think that many of you will have attended and you'll already have been involved, but I just want to talk through some of the things that we offer because it's very similar to what's happening in other conferences and other events. So this picture this was our 2017 conference. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a minute. What you can see though is the exhibition hall where we were all networking during the breaks, and there's poster boards. And what's really important about those posters is that every one of them was created by a patient group. So we decided that we didn't want scientific academic posters. We wanted patient journeys. And we set out on our first patient journey poster. So this little poster on the left-hand side is exactly how not to do a poster. This was our poster from 2017, where we had very different branding and it's all quite, congested. And we were calling out to patient groups through this poster to say, we want your posters. So we tried to make it as simple as possible for people. We created a template. We gave people instructions. We told them what to include. We suggested who they might collaborate with. And in some cases, we printed the posters for them. But the bottom line was these things on the right. So if you're going to do a poster, it's actually a really brilliant way to get seen. Posters have got they've got a lifespan. They've got a life of their own. Something that starts as a poster for a particular conference can be repurposed time and time again. It can be updated as things change. It can be printed onto fabric. I know that lots of people after our poster journey competition, they went on to post them onto fabric and they took them all over the world. Those posters can be printed out smaller as leaflets. They could be on your website. So try and repurpose. Do something that's going to have lots and lots of airplay, and it's going to last for a long time. So get it right in the first place by being succinct, making it really lovely and visible and memorable. So think of a hook, something that's going to make it stick in people's minds. Use it to tell people about your symptoms, to share which aspects of your condition need treatment. So that's very much you saying, these are our unmet needs. You could even use it to share a project that you've been doing, but be clear about your aims and create a call to action. So this is just a couple of examples. So back in 2017, when we said, send us your posters, we were really bowled over by just how incredible they were. We received 52 patient journey posters, And some organizations decided to do two. So they did one, which was more addressing the symptoms, the unmet needs, and the challenge to the viewer, and others which were a visual depiction of the journey, the patient journey. So this one in particular on the left is a Cluedo poster, and I really love this one. This was done by a graphic designer who actually lives in Cambridge, and she has a rare condition called Behçet syndrome. She did this poster for the Vasculitis UK group, and she used her graphic design skills to make something really memorable. You've got a Cluedo board, and in each of the Cluedo board rooms, you've got the different people, the different clinicians that you might have to visit. She's used the characters that you can see at the top that we all know so well. She's talked about, you know, the diagnostic journey and it being this mystery and this challenge. And I think everyone would argue that this was absolutely the best design. So what did the vasculitis group get from this? So they had an opportunity to showcase their work and their unmet needs to a really varied, vibrant audience who were already very engaged. They had the opportunity to create some content which could then have that longevity that I talked about. So this poster has been in lots of conferences. They had an opportunity to also pitch to the audience. So the 5 best posters were selected by a group of judges. And on the right there, you can see some of that group, some of the winners with Sue on the left there, who were actually being offered the opportunity to then pitch to the audience. So they created the poster, that was the first step. Then they got the opportunity to actually speak to. One of the other spin-offs from this poster was that Sue actually was employed by us as our graphic designer. And you might think, well, that's not relevant here, but actually for her, it was. She was a graphic designer who struggled to get work, struggled to find full-time employment because of her condition. She was very up and down in terms of her energy levels and how well she would be. And she needed an organization to work with who understood that. So we became the perfect partners for each other. And she's been with us for the last 5 years now. So there's often spin-offs that we don't expect. And where are we now with posters? So if you think back to, I'm actually just going to flick back to it. Flick back to that awful thing on the left, which has got our awful branding and it's really congested and not very easy to read. And now where we are today. So in 2021, at the Rare Summit that we held online, we decided that one thing we'd felt, you know, hadn't worked for us really with the 2017 campaign was that we hadn't had a leveler. We hadn't given everyone the same opportunity. So what we saw was some posters that had clearly been designed by graphic designers, or posters where a patient group had managed to partner with a company, a health communications company, and they did the design work. And then there were others where people had really done it themselves. And what we wanted to do was to redress that balance. So we actually reached out to a company called Prime Global, and Prime Global have done a little bit of collaborative work with us. They do design work. They help communicate stuff to the pharma industry. And they were really keen to work with us to take some of the posters from 2017 and to work with some new emerging groups and design a new poster with them for them. So this is where we got to in 2021. And this is a new initiative called the Patient's Publication. And what's really special about this is not that it looks nice, of course, but that it very much was a collaborative project with the patient group. So the patient group said what they wanted to go in here. They told their story, and then the company helped design the layout. And this is a really important point that I want to emphasize. There are lots and lots of health communications companies out there who want to help us. And don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to say, I really need something to help amplify our voice, to help tell people what it is we need. and see what you get back. I'm happy to introduce people to some of the companies that we work with. So that's an option that we can explore. So moving on from posters. Posters are often the first thing that people tend to do, but exhibits are a brilliant way of getting seen and getting heard. Again, I'm going to emphasize, have a plan. You can't go to every conference, and you can't often afford to get printing done for every conference that you want to be at. When you're designing your stand, and there is design work involved in this, be visible, be memorable. Don't print everything that you've ever done, because it's not necessary, but try and find a hook to tempt people over. And I'm really sorry to say, but sweets work. So having a nice box of celebrations at the front of your counter is not a bad idea. Be warm, be engaging, and don't just do all of the talking. Actually, use this as an opportunity to find out from people what interests them. What do they think about your stand? What do they think about your work? What do they do? So use it as a two-way conversation. Share your details and don't forget to follow up. So I picked out this particular stand. This is from 2019 when we had our summit at the Welcome Genome campus. What do I like about this stand? So the first thing I like is actually not in the picture because I've managed to chop it off. But on the front of their tablecloth, it says, "Ask me about AskGog." So it's a really clear call to action. Come and talk to me. I love that. At the front, what have they got? Right at the very front of their stand on the tablecloth, they've got their business cards. So it's the first thing that your hand goes to. It's the first thing you're going to pick up. It's visual. It's engaging. I love their roller banners in the background. I love their use of photography there. It really kind of captures your imagination. The lady on the left has a T-shirt. Now, you kind of think, so what? But actually, what she's doing by wearing that T-shirt is she's carrying the conversation on beyond being behind her exhibit. So when she's out and about and she's chatting to people and she's visiting other stands, she's still there with her brand. She's got a pen and she's got a notepad right in front of her. She's going to be using that to take notes, to jot people's names down, to make sure she gets their email addresses for that all-important follow-up. There's not much printing there, so they haven't had to spend fortune, and they're both smiling. Really important. Engage your audience. I'm going to flick now to another one. Now, this is a really good friend of ours. It's a Cambridge-based company, and they were a very young startup. They had very little money, and they were invited to exhibit, and they said, but we haven't got anything. We haven't got any leaflets. So they turned up with their brand new tablecloth, which is a beautiful colour, and it really stands out, and nothing else. Now, you might think, wow, is that not a bit of a risk? Does it not look a little bit too bland? But actually, what he's done there, I mean, he's sat there with a huge grin on his face, which is really inviting to go and speak to. But also he's got everything, you can just see the backs of them. So you see the back of the laptop, the back of the screen, the back of something else on the right-hand side. It actually creates some intrigue. I want to know what's on the other side, and I want to know what he's going to show me on that laptop. So I would definitely be going over there because I'm going to get a demo. So it's not all about spending tons of money, and it's not all about having to create loads of special materials. It's just about being there and doing something that will get you noticed. You know, just find your own style. Now, I definitely would recommend that before you choose to exhibit, you actually go to some events and you see what other people do. So have a little snoop around, go and see what other people have printed out, what they brought with them. Have a look and see which is your favorite roller banner and what did you like about it. Take some notes away and use that to build your plan. And definitely be realistic about your budget. Things like roller banners are dead cheap, as is a tablecloth actually. So there's bits and pieces that you can get that will keep you going for quite some time without having to spend a lot of money. Okay, so moving on, speaking. Now this tends to be the third step, I would say. But actually, it was interesting. When you did the poll, lots of you said that you've already been speakers. So I'm really impressed by that, actually, because speaking is not everyone's cup of tea. It's not something that people are necessarily used to doing in front of a big audience. It's not something that they're familiar with. And it can be really frightening. It can be really daunting. I mean, I spent 25 years in education before I did this job. And I was used to standing up in front of classes every day, used to standing up in front of big assembly groups. But still, my first public speaking role in this job, I was terrified. So I think what really helped me was to think about what's my message that I want to share? Who is it that I actually want to speak to? Because that's going to help you tailor that plan to make sure you're at the right events. Why do I want to speak to them? What's my call to action? What do I want them to do? Find your own style. I think it's really important that you kind of build a style as a speaker, that you almost become, you are the voice of your charity. You are the voice of your community. And consider some training if you're not feeling confident. Now, I know that Beacon are running some really nice masterclasses. And the intention behind that is to teach people to do these skills, to be better at these skills. So consider some training, develop those skills and lots of practice. Create some great slides. Doesn't need to have loads of text on it. Keep it visual. And maybe the first time you do it, get some help so that you can build a template. If you're not being asked to speak, ask if you can. I get people all the time saying, when's your next event? Can I be a speaker? Put yourself out there. That's the way that you're going to get in front of people. And I'd suggest that you start small. Start small, maybe start with getting involved with perhaps a panel discussion where you're not the only speaker. Perhaps get involved with a roundtable discussion where you can sit and listen quite a lot to how other people are doing things before you respond. Start small, get some practice in, build your confidence. Then you'll be ready for the big screen experience. So a short kind of example here, a case study. So on the, where is she? Second from the right is Alison Watson. I don't know if Alison's here today, actually. But Alison from Ring 20 Research and Support. So Alison started in 2017 by creating a poster for that first patient journey poster competition. In 2019, when we had our next summit, she was here speaking. She was part of a panel of patient voices, and she had a really clear call to action. She said to that audience gathered there today, that on that day, you're all talking about whole genome sequencing. It doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for our disease. And I challenge you to find a solution to that. Now, that very clear call to action then led to a conversation with somebody in the audience from Illumina. And as many of you might know, now in 2022, they have a collaborative project. So they rose to that challenge as a company to help an ultra rare disease, tiny group, to unravel the Ring 20. So, you might think, where is this going to take me? Is it worth me doing it? Absolutely, definitely it is. Okay. And finally, I've only got a couple of minutes left here, so I'm going to just whistle-stop tour through the media bit. So I've already talked about events. I'd really urge you to, get on the CRDN website and have a look at our events calendar. There's lots of other calendars out there. There's Global Genes, there's Nord, there's the Eurydice calendars. Find out what events are going on this year and think about which ones you need to be at. Think about how you want to interact with them. Do you want to be a speaker? Do you want to be an exhibitor? Do you want to be a media partner? Now, I noticed that lots of people hadn't done that before, and it's a great, simple way of getting your logo out there, getting clicks on your website, and all you're doing is sharing information about the event that you're going to. If you haven't already got some, get your business cards printed before you get there. So this next bit is about how you get the most from media, and I'm going to keep this very short and sweet. So it's lots of similar stuff, that I've already mentioned before, so I'm not really going to go through it all again. My big take homes here are really about doing your research and being selective. It's very easy when you're starting out to think, you know, everybody that comes to you and says, do you want to tell your story, that you give them it. It's not always helpful, and it doesn't always turn out the way you want it to. So I think it's about building relationships. And what we did here at CRDN is we started local. So we found the local newspapers that we thought were reputable and we liked the content of. We listened to the different radio stations and we picked 2 that we wanted to work with. And we tracked down people that we could build a relationship with at BBC Look East. So we found 3 media channels that we wanted to start with. And over 3 or 4 years, we built a relationship and a reputation with them. That was really crucial for us. We're now at a stage where I think we would want to take that more widely, and we would want to do it nationally. And we're back to the same process. So we're starting to look at who's the right newspapers that we want to interact with, who are the right reporters that we want to speak to, how are we going to get ourselves in front of them. Again, consider training. Now, on the left, we have a BBC Look East filmer. I can't think what you call them. And we have one of the kids in our Unique Feet local group. Now, Eric was there for probably 2 hours being filmed. And in the end, the piece that went out on the news was 2 minutes long, and he was devastated. He had so much to say and he felt robbed. And I just want to make that I want to make that statement really clearly, that that's what happens. You provide a lot of information, but unfortunately, very little of it can be used. So my message would be, choose your words carefully and just say the things that you want them to use, even if that means you're a bit of a politician and you keep repeating yourself. So they'll ask the same question, they'll ask different questions, try and get the same message across. And then finally, these guys. So you've got your media stuff, but you've also got all of these amazing rare disease umbrella groups. If you're trying to reach particular people, if you're wanting to reach those researchers, those pharma companies, the scientists, the tech companies, actually this is where they're going to be. So connect with Web Evolution, with Patient Worthy, the Mighty, Genetic Alliance UK, ourselves, Beacon. All of these big umbrella groups have got websites, they do blogs, they want your content. So, make yourself known to them so that you can start to use their audience for your messages. Every now and again, you're going to need some very focused, targeted options. So an example is that we've built a relationship with the Pharma Focus and Pharma Forum magazines. Every month they come to us and say, we would like you to connect us with somebody for a patient insight piece. Again, you might think, what's the point in that? But actually, I heard a really nice story recently. So Sophie from Timothy Syndrome Alliance, they did a piece a while ago, and she had contact from a clinician in Australia who had read her article in the Pharma Forum magazine, Pharma Focus magazine, and they had made a diagnosis of Timothy syndrome and wanted to connect a patient with them. So that patient from across the world was connected to her group through that article. If you're not quite ready to share your story, I go back to the media partner idea. So this is you getting the word out without you having to do anything at all. Just share somebody else's content. So I'm hoping that you're going to get a copy of these slides. And these are my top tips, which I won't go through again because I think we're well out of time. And I'm going to stop there. Sorry, a whistle stopped there.
No, absolutely. No, thank you so much. That was really great. I think we are out of time, so we don't have any time for any questions, but I will share the slides and everyone will be getting the recording as well. So, any info you missed or you want to catch up on, that's no problem at all. So I will just do a quick share of my screen. So I just want to say, yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that and found that to be beneficial. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.